It feels like Chappell Roan's success happened overnight, but did you know she was actually dropped from her first label? She's been on this journey for over a decade, and the rest of the world is only just catching on. Chappell Roan was born Kaylee Rose Amstutz in 1998 in Missouri, and despite how proudly she waves the Midwest princess flag now, she hated growing up there. She told Rolling Stone, "I felt so out of place in my hometown. I wish it was better. I wish I had better things to say, but mentally, I had a really tough time." Thankfully, she found music as a way to cope with the struggle of growing up in a place where she knew she was different. As she recalled to the Associated Press, "When I was younger, I really loved Karen Carpenter, and I really wanted to emulate her. And then I really loved Stevie Nicks, her gravel and the vibrato she brought." She also latched onto 2010s pop icons like Katy Perry and Lady Gaga, and took a lot of inspiration from their theatrics and songwriting. And while music's a huge part of her life now, Roan hid her budding talent from her family at first.
We heard her voice the first time at a junior high talent show.
Well, we didn't know she could sing.
And even after she started performing, her road to pop stardom was a whole lot longer than many fans realize today. When she finally revealed her musical talent to her family, they were very supportive. Before long, a teenaged Kaylee was on a plane to Los Angeles to lay the groundwork for her music career. Reflecting on that time to Rolling Stone, she admitted she didn't quite realize what she was signing up for, saying, "I didn't know the consequences of how much I had to sacrifice. I didn't do my senior year, I didn't go to prom, I didn't go to graduation. I missed a lot of what would have been the end of my childhood to do this job." To reckon with that sacrifice, she developed the Chappell Roan persona to help separate her real life from her musical career. She explained to the Associated Press that the character of Chappell Roan, who she's called a drag queen, gives her the freedom to be more sexual and open on stage than she may be in her day-to-day life. She said, "I would say the mythology is just like being a girl from the Midwest and experiencing like Hollywood. And the cliche of small-town girl goes to big city to make it big, but involved in that is self-exploration and freedom and finding a community that she didn't have before." Even so, she still honors her roots by thrifting clothes and shouting out her home in her songs.
"I have to honor this place that raised me no matter how I feel about it."
When the Chappell Roan project began in earnest, the music she was making was very different from the full-on pop she's known for today. In 2017, she released her School Nights EP, which had a sound much more akin to the indie singer-songwriter she was at the time. Speaking with Access, she explained, "It's very dark pop with some influences of the 60s and 70s. I really wanted to showcase a very moody vibe with this album." Then, in early 2018, she went out on the road opening for Declan McKenna. Even back then, Roan's internet presence was already helping her build a fan base. The tour went so well, in fact, it brought her to tears. As she wrote on Facebook after one particularly exciting show, "I had never cried on stage before until last night. Looking out and seeing people singing my songs with me is a feeling I can't describe. It's a dream come true." Nowadays, Roan may be known for her proudly queer and sexual lyrics, but it took her a while to get there. She grew up in a very conservative and Christian community and told the Washington Post that she saw firsthand how poorly it treated queer people. Speaking with Vanity Fair, Roan revealed that several of her songs that mention lesbian relationships were written as total fantasies. She said, "I hadn't even kissed a girl or dated a girl when I wrote Naked in Manhattan and Red Wine Supernova." But as she told Headliner, that all changed after a night at the iconic West Hollywood club, The Abbey. Freshly 21, she danced the night away, completely sober no less, and felt the queer community opening up to her. She recalled, "There were go-go dancers on the table, and I walked in and it was the most spiritual experience. Everyone was having a great time. It was magical. I just felt like I belonged there, and that really changed my life." The night inspired Roan's ode to the gay community, Pink Pony Club. Though it may be hard to believe now, Pink Pony Club didn't exactly break through when it came out. In fact, Roan's label actually dropped her when the track didn't perform how they'd hoped. Unfortunately, that was also around the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, so she moved back to Missouri. Going home wasn't all bad, as she'd been unhappy in LA, largely because she was underage for the first few years she lived there. Still, she learned a lot and was able to bring that knowledge home with her and regroup. She told Rolling Stone about that era as well, saying, "I was upset about my project not moving. I felt stuck and like no one was paying attention to me." She got a job at a coffee shop and actually considered giving up music altogether. But after touching base with producer Dan Nigro, she decided to keep going and change up her sound and style instead. Well, that clearly paid off. After releasing several singles independently, Island Records signed her, and back to LA she went.
It was either give it one more shot or maybe go to school to be a biologist or something.
Right.
With a new label and a more glittery synth-pop sound, Roan dove back into her career. She fine-tuned both her music and the Chappell Roan persona, making her stage character more akin to a drag queen. As she explained to Vanity Fair, "I think Chappell's a drag queen version of me because it's very larger than life. Kind of tacky, not afraid to say really lewd things. The songs are kind of the fairy tale version of what happened in real life." She also felt like a much more active part of the queer community, and the queer themes in her music felt more developed and authentic as a result. All this work led to the release of her debut album, The Rise and Fall of a Midwest Princess, in September 2023. This time around, the world was ready for her music and her aesthetic. As she reflected to NME, "I was like, I'm gonna give it one more year, and if it doesn't work, I'll rethink." Well, we all know how that year turned out.
Ladies and gentlemen, Chappell Roan.
As things were just falling into place on Roan's end, fellow pop star Olivia Rodrigo was already rising to superstardom. Funny enough, Nigro had also produced for Rodrigo, and it turns out she and Chappell Roan go way back.
If you listen really closely to some of my songs, on Sour and on Guts, she's singing in the back.
Rodrigo even took Roan on the road as her opener for a few dates while she was touring her album Sour. So in 2023, as her own career began to take off, Roan reached out to Rodrigo for advice on how to handle her sudden fame. She recalled the conversation to Nylon, saying, "Olivia was like, I don't have the answers. I'm sorry, no one has the answers." Well, that was good enough for Chappell, apparently. In 2024, she actually went back out on the road with Rodrigo as the opener for the Guts tour. It was really perfect timing as the tour put Roan's music in front of so many new fans, just as it was taking off on its own. Throughout early 2024, a number of Chappell Roan's live performances went viral online, proving she was much more than a solid recording artist. Like many rising stars, she performed an NPR Tiny Desk concert, and both the music and her elaborate costume got a lot of love in the comments. Over the next few months, she played a number of stellar festival sets that allowed thousands of people to see her epic stage presence, both online and in person. As one fan pointed out on X, from April to June, she was consistently delivering on stage, and her online streams skyrocketed at the same time. That whole time, she never held back from speaking her mind and advocating for the support of women, the queer community, and other oppressed people. The combination of her unique visual sense, skills as a performer, and her willingness to speak out for what she believes was a perfect recipe for success. But nothing could prepare her for what was to come. After Roan's career exploded, it got harder and harder for her to keep up with her sudden fame. At one point, she even started crying on stage and outright admitted to the crowd that she was struggling with just how fast her music was blowing up. In an interview with Glamour, she explained she's had to set boundaries with fans just to protect her mental health. While her early tours featured meet and greet options for fans to hang out with her backstage, she quickly found that a lot of the people she met had a tendency to overshare. Hearing such emotional stories before going on stage began to take its toll. She reflected, "Toward the end, I was having panic attacks between the meet and greets and the shows because of how intense the stories were that people were telling me. The meet and greets, I don't think I can do that again. I know a lot of artists, as you grow, they can't do it anymore because of this." For years, Roan has paid tribute to the drag community, and that has only continued as her shadow has gotten larger and larger. She's even busted out outfits specifically to honor certain drag icons, including Pink Flamingo star Divine. On various occasions, Chappell Roan has worn outfits inspired by Divine's looks in both Pink Flamingos and Female Trouble, and has honored the performer in Instagram captions on several occasions.
Filth are my politics, filth is my life!
But Divine isn't Roan's only drag inspiration. When she appeared on The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, she shouted out Sasha Colby as a huge influence as well. Colby is both a RuPaul Drag Race winner and a queer icon in her own right. Chappell even referenced her on stage at Coachella by calling herself your favorite artist's favorite artist.
Sasha Colby said, "I'm your favorite drag queen's favorite drag queen." And I was like, it just hit me through the heart.
Funny enough, even as she was blowing up, it took a while for Roan's music to really get its moment on the Billboard charts. It took almost a year after The Rise and Fall of a Midwest Princess came out for the album to really start performing how you might expect for someone of Roan's caliber. But when it rained, it poured. Her album even topped Billboard's vinyl albums chart in August 2024. The shift was so staggering that Billboard itself put out an article to highlight it. It noted that in early 2024, her entire catalog received about 3 million streams a week. 6 months later, that number was up to over 68 million. Even better, the rise and fall of a Midwest princess wasn't her only release that started charting. Several of her singles also hit the Hot 100. Even Pink Pony Club charted 4 years after her label dropped her. There are a lot of potential explanations to the public's visceral reaction to Roan's music, but one ex-user put it especially well when they wrote, "People are starving for something authentic and cool in pop again. She's filling a void." It turns out that crack about being your favorite artist's favorite artist is more true than maybe even Roan realized. In addition to Olivia Rodrigo, plenty of other big-name artists have lined up to support her recent rise to the top of the music industry. For example, after she covered Bad Romance at a show in 2024, Lady Gaga commented, "I love Chappell" on a clip of the performance on TikTok. Similarly, fans on X noticed that SZA often comments on Roan's Instagram photos, and even Kesha tweeted that she was excited to see the Midwest princess at Lollapalooza. A few months later, Sabrina Carpenter took her admiration for Roan a step further by covering her song "Good Luck Babe" for the BBC. Even Ariana Grande shouted out the up-and-comer after memes of Roan photoshopped into the Wicked promo started going around. With endorsements like that, it's pretty safe to say that 2025 is just the beginning of a long and successful career for the pop icon.